Well, good morning and welcome to Valley Views. I'm Glenn Eidson, your host, and this is Debbie Chandler with Next Step. And we're going to be talking about the Next Step program today and some of the things that you may or may not know about this program. We want to inform you of that because our program is set up to about the positive things that are going on in the Valley, and this is one of the positive things that we want to highlight. So, Debbie, it's good to have you first of all.
Thank you.
And we want to start out. I know Valley, excuse me, Next Steps is not that old. It's been around a few years, but tell us how it got started and why.
Okay, probably back in 2007 or 8, there was some concerned citizens in our area about our teen pregnancy rate and then how to help those young ladies if they needed help. And in their churches, they were already supporting what then was called AAA in Chattanooga. It's now called Choices. And so they went and talked to them to ask them, what can we do? And so they got them connected with what is our national affiliate, CareNet. And CareNet sent them a manual on how to start a pregnancy center.
Oh.
And that it's really in depth, and it took a lot of work. And so they went around visiting other centers as well and talking with them. Then they went to the center in Dayton, Tennessee, which at that time was called the Women's Care Center. And they asked them if they would open a satellite. And so the executive director went to her board of directors, and they prayed about it for a month, and they considered it, and they said they would. And so in 2009, they opened a satellite center here in Dunlap.
Oh,
Yep. And
great.
so that's how we got started.
Well, and speaking of that, being a satellite center, who all was involved as far as there's several people involved?
There were several people involved, and I'd be so afraid that I would leave someone out. It started with just like 2 or 3, and then they went on. And when they talked to CareNet told them, you need to involve the whole community. So at that point, they opened it up, and there were probably about 15 people from throughout the community, different churches and everything. And so they got a lot of people involved at that point.
Well, how many people right now do you have as far as working there at Next Step?
There's 3 of us, myself, and then we have a client services director and our registered nurse, which is our nurse manager.
And what all are some of the programs that you offer and the things that y'all do at your center so that people could know?
Okay, well, the medical side of what we do, we have pregnancy testing, limited OB ultrasounds, and we are beginning in the next couple of weeks STI testing and treatment. And then on the other side of what we do, we've got parenting classes and life skills classes. And so those classes, they cover everything from pregnancy, breastfeeding, childbirth, bringing home a newborn, potty training, discipline, and then there's a whole financial side of it as well, and just life skills on how to change a tire, how to pick out an apartment and a roommate, how to get a credit card, just lots of life skills we have in that. And then they can also come in once a month and do pick up diapers, wipes, formula, and baby food, and they do not have to take the classes to get those items. Those are necessities.
Well, that's neat because that way they don't feel when their funds may be limited, they could depend on y'all to help them out.
Right, and the other side, the classes and the material assistance, you do not have to have been a medical client to get those services. Anyone in the community can come in and get those services if they need them.
Oh, that's great. And I know through school, when I was teaching, there was that pregnancy rate, and that was a concern for us. And so it's good that we have a program now that can support these young ladies. And is there anyone, speaking of that, is there anyone that you would not take? Do you take everybody that comes to the program?
We take everyone that comes to the program, but if they're under 14, we're going to refer them to their pediatrician.
Okay. Now, besides some of the programs that you offer, like as you mentioned, if there's something that a woman needs that y'all don't offer, do y'all have referral systems that you can go to?
We do. We actually have a very in-depth resource list that every client gets when they come in, and it covers just about everything that they could need. And if they don't have a phone or a computer to try to reach out to these places, we'll let them use ours. If they need help just initiating that contact, we'll make the initial contact for them as well and then pass it off to them.
All right, and you mentioned especially the younger ladies. Do you go to contact with parents, or is that how's that program work?
Anything that is sexual health related, the state says that as long as they are over 14, we do not have to, but we always encourage it. We always encourage them to contact their parents, to bring their parents in or whatever.
Right, you don't want them to be surprised or upset when they find out and things like that. Well, as you mentioned some of the programs, if a girl comes in, tell us how that's set up when someone new comes in and says, hey, I need help. What's the process through it?
Okay, well, if they're coming in for a pregnancy test, then we're just, of course, going to get them to fill out paperwork. We are a medical clinic recognized by the state of Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
We have a physician that oversees everything that our nurse does. Now, our physician is not on site, but she oversees everything that she does. She's part of the policy and procedures and everything. And so the client's going to come in, and according to the policies and procedures that our physician set up, we're going to give her a pregnancy test if she needs a pregnancy test, and then if it's a positive test, we will then offer her an ultrasound, and we'll go through all of that with her.
All right, so it really is a step-by-step process. You stay with them the whole time.
The whole time, we sure do. And we have a list to refer them to OBs and things like that as well.
And then after the woman has had the child, do you can stay in contact with them?
We do our best. We do our best to follow up with them. Once they've come in with us, we have a follow-up procedure where we try to stay with them the whole way to encourage them and to offer them all of those other services that they may need as well, the parenting classes and stuff.
And you probably have some women that come in that are really all alone. They just don't have anybody to turn to.
Yeah, we have a lot like that. And that's why we try to encourage the parenting classes, because we try to set them up with a client advocate, and we try to get them to see the same one each week when they come in so that they can build a relationship and that lady can try to mentor them.
Well, and both you and I know being a parent is not an easy thing.
No, and it only gets harder as they get older.
Yeah. And I wish we'd had some help and advice, but we probably had to wing it ourselves,
right.
know. And it's nice for these young ladies to have somebody that can come in and say, hey, here's what's going to happen. Here's what to expect.
What to expect. That's right. A lot of our young ladies, not all of them, but a lot of them have not had good parenting role modeled for them. And so that's why those classes will help them to become a better parent themselves, and then also to pass that on to their kids so that their kids see good parenting modeled.
Right, because that's important. We know that because having a good role model is always the best way.
It really is. It's the best way to go.
And I've seen so many children through school that didn't have a good role model.
Yeah.
And so having that role model is good.
Right.
Well, do you ever get student or young women who are just really afraid when they come in?
Oh yeah. A lot of them are, and a lot of them, when they call, they'll ask right up front, is this confidential? Is anyone going to know I've been there? And so we do have to go by HIPAA laws, so everything is confidential. And a lot of them are really scared. We love it when the young man comes in with them, but that doesn't always happen.
Right. I'm sure that happens quite a bit, doesn't it? Well, one of the things, how your center, first of all, where is it located for people who want to find out where it is, and then what are your hours of operation?
Right. We're on Old York Highway East, just beside the Department of Human Services, and we are open Monday through Thursday, 12 to 5.
12 to 5? Good. That's a good
And
time.
we do make special arrangements. Sometimes people just cannot get there during that time, and so we will make special arrangements from time to time.
Okay, good. So anyone, and you're it's open to anyone, right?
Absolutely anyone.
And do you take women who are maybe not are outside of the county, or is it?
What we found a lot of times, especially in the medical services, sometimes they may not want to go to a small town area where someone may know them, so they may go to Chattanooga, and someone from Chattanooga or Dayton may actually come to us. And so we all kind of share clients and help each other out, but absolutely anyone can come to our center.
So open to anybody that shows up. Well, that's a good thing, because that was one of my questions. If it was just for Sequatchie County residents, so it's open to anyone.
And we are actually funded throughout the valley. It's not just here.
Well, speaking of funding, how do you get your funding?
The majority of our funding comes from 2 fundraisers that we do. In August or September, we'll have our Walk for Life. But then in March, actually March 26th this year, we're going to have our annual fundraising banquet. And that one will probably bring in about 60% of our budget for the year.
Really?
And then we have churches that support us monthly and just individuals. Mhm.
So anyone wanting to help you?
Anyone that wants to give, hey, we're happy to do it.
Well, that's great. So those fundraisers, any other ways you have of making money, or?
No, we get a few grants. Walmart has given us a community grant. The electric co-op has given us some to help us keep our curriculum up to date, make sure we're teaching everything that's up to date. And so we've gotten a few local community grants.
And what about your supplies? Like you mentioned, the diapers and the wipes and all that.
Yeah.
Are you open for donations on
Yeah,
that?
all of that is donated.
All of it?
Yeah,
is?
our budget doesn't go to any of those items. And so if we start getting low on formula or something, I'll normally put something out on our Friends of Next Step Facebook page, and the community is awesome to get that stuff to us.
Well, that's great.
Yeah. So as parents, their children are growing up, they'll bring things down, and we go through everything. If it's got stains or holes or anything like that, we don't put it out for our young ladies.
Oh, okay. So they can also bring like clothing or anything like that?
Yeah, when they take our parenting classes, it's what's called an Earn While You Learn program. And so they'll come in and they get the skills that they need. And every time they come in, they get a $5 voucher. And they can take that voucher then into what we call our store, but no cash is ever exchanged. All of our services are free. They can spend those vouchers in the store. Like they can get 4 pieces of clothing for $1. They can get a car seat for $15. They can get a crib for $25.
Oh, wow.
And so, we're not really requiring a lot of those vouchers. We would just want to make sure they get the skills that they need as well.
Yeah, because all that stuff you mentioned, it's expensive.
Very expensive. And some of our young ladies won't have showers or anything like that. And so this is a way that they can get the skills that they need, but they can also get the items they need for their babies.
Well, that's interesting to know, because all those things that you mentioned, if you're not a parent, you don't realize how much money is out
Goes
there.
into that, yeah.
You know, the cribs and the car seats are expensive.
Outrageous.
And if you're young and you don't have the kind of money to, well, I don't guess any of us have the money.
No, if we waited till we could afford it, we wouldn't do it.
But those are good things that you can offer and get the. Now, when we talked earlier, you mentioned some things about the religious side of this and the pro-choice, and I want to talk about that some.
Okay.
I know a lot of people today are pro-choice and not necessarily wanting to save their babies all the time. They want to go another route. Talk about what y'all do.
We are registered with the government as a religious organization, so we are faith-based, and then we are also what we call a pro-life organization. But when someone comes in, number one, let's say she comes in and we're talking with her and we want to talk to her about spiritual things. We always get permission. We'll always say, is it okay if we have a spiritual conversation? If she says no, that's okay. And we also realize that when they come in, we've had many young ladies come in and tell us right up front, I'm not having the baby, I want to have an abortion. We're still going to help her. We're pro-life. We hope that she will choose parenting or adoption, but it's her choice. And so we're going to talk to her about her choices. We're going to make sure that she understands it. But when she leaves, if she still wants to have an abortion, the last thing we're going to tell her as she leaves is, if you need us, you're always welcome. And we have had young ladies leave and have an abortion and still come back to us later when they needed us.
Well, that's good. Because that was one of the things I wanted to talk about is if they refused things like that, did you still?
We still service them. We're still going to love them. We're still going to help them.
Well, that's having a child is a big choice. It's a big decision, and it's probably not for everybody. Not everybody wants a child or needs it, or maybe even needs a child. I don't know.
Well, and what we have found a lot of times is they weren't informed either. And so we want to make sure part of good decision making is being informed and understanding the decision that you're making. And so that's what we're going to walk. We call it options counseling, but that's what we're going to walk through with them in that. And we're not pushing anything on them. We're not showing them any pictures. Back in the 80s, pregnancy centers really had a bad name. They were doing some things that they really should not have been doing.
Right.
And they were doing things out of just trying to shock people. We're not going to do that, because if I can shock you into a decision, someone else can shock you out of that decision.
Exactly.
And so it's your decision. You need to own it. So we're going to educate you in that decision.
Well, because there's a lot of people that do not have any type of religious background, or and when something like this happens, it scares them. They don't know what to do.
Right.
And so that program of being with them and giving them the advice they need would be very helpful, because that'd be scary, I'm sure.
Oh, Yes, it'd be very scary. Yeah, and we recognize that. Which we can see the fear in their eyes sometimes when they walk in before they even mention it. We can see it, and so. But we also that's one reason why we don't want to just say, okay, we want you to choose parenting or adoption, and hey, we've got another stat to put on our records, and then just turn you loose. That's why we have the whole other side of what we're doing, because if you're going to choose life, we're going to walk with you and help you in that decision.
Right, and I imagine what kind of numbers, if you can go into that, do you have? You have quite a few.
We do have quite a few. I had written down like the difference from 2009 when we first opened till now. In 2009, we had 56 new clients. In 2019, we had 141 new clients.
Wow.
But in 2009, we had 6 pregnancy tests, and we had 66 in 2019. And so that's just a little bit of the difference in the numbers there that we've had.
Well, what if someone comes in and they have say a negative pregnancy test? Do you still work with them if they want the help?
We still work with them. We're going to talk to them at that point about their choices, about making sure that they're healthy, and that's another reason why we're adding the STI services. We want to make sure that they're healthy. But yeah, we're going to talk to them about their choices and hope that they'll start making better choices for themselves. But their choice to make again, but we're always there for them, always.
And you mentioned about the health part. I know a lot of them probably are not as healthy as they need to be, are they?
No.
They just don't get the right food to eat and the right or have the food to eat in a lot of cases.
Some of them don't. You're right. Yeah, some of them are in that situation, and some of them are just, they're wonderful young people, and they've just made choices that have put them in a tough situation.
Right. Yeah. We all know children that way, and well, it's good that we have a program that can, I guess, make these. I call them children, but
the majority of our clients are actually 20 to 29.
Really?
Yes.
Well,
we thought when we opened it would be high school as well, but it's more of the college age.
Well, that was another thing I was going to ask about the age. I mean, I don't guess you have an age limit that y'all work with there.
Well, like I said, if they're under 14, we're going to refer them to their pediatrician. But other than that, no, we actually have some grandparents that come to us that are raising their grandchildren, and they're on fixed incomes, and so they need help with those material things, and so they can come in and get that help too.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of, as you mentioned, a lot of grandparents are raising their
a lot of
grandchildren.
Them are. And a lot of our local agencies also know if there's been a house fire or grandparents who have received emergency custody and had to go to the jail and pick up a grandbaby or something, they know they can send them to us. They're not going to have to fill out paperwork or anything. We're going to help them with whatever supplies we have in an emergency situation to help them get started.
Well, that's good to know, because I know recently we had a fire and the whole house was destroyed and they lost everything.
Right.
So that would be nice if in that situation.
Yeah, they know they can come to us, and if we have things that can help them, we will.
Because in things like that, I mean, you lose everything. You don't. You can't just go out and buy everything.
Buy everything, yeah. Especially if you have multiple children, that's even harder.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Do you? Is this program? Do you ever go into the schools, or will they allow you to go into the schools?
There is a hand of what we do called the Edge. And when we were under the Women's Care Center, the Edge is through the Women's Care Center, which is now called the Care Center in Dayton. And they are a youth risk avoidance program. They are abstinence-based, but they talk to them about making good decisions and setting goals and what choices can you make in your life that will derail you from meeting your goals, and stuff like that. They are in our school systems, and they do receive government funding for while they're in the schools. But they will also go to churches and community groups and speak to students as well.
That's good.
And then I'm in the school systems. They do life mazes. I don't know if you've been to one of the life mazes or not. It's just it's a situation where the students will they'll go in and they'll receive a life choice, which would be like drugs and alcohol, tobacco, sex, something like that. And then they get to see what those choices can lead to in their life. And so we're always included in those up and down the valley when those things are happening. We're there helping with that. I get to go into some of the family education classes and talk there as well.
Well, good, because I know a lot of the children probably don't understand, a lot of adults don't understand that when you do the drugs and the alcohol, that leads to a lot of bad decisions, and sometimes you know, and that doesn't help any.
No.
And well, that's good that you have this program that we can that many people can fall back on. Now you mentioned about the health part. Do you ever have patients that come in or that have health issues or maybe a disease that you have to work them through, help them through?
We do, and normally we will refer them through one of our referral sources, and our physician will also help us to get them to where they need to be.
Well, that's good, because a lot of times they're they're just they don't know where to go.
Right. And sometimes they come to us and they don't have health insurance, but because we're a medical clinic, we can give them a verification of a positive pregnancy test, and their insurance company will accept that to get insurance started as well.
Well, and speaking of insurance, do you have a lot of women that come in that are not insured?
We do, but like I said, our services are free, so that's one reason that they come to us as well. But we do have a lot of them that are not insured.
And well, that's a good thing. That not a good thing that they're not insured, but it's a good thing that y'all do offer that service
to help them get it.
Because there's a lot of people in this area that need services that can't afford it.
Right.
I've been to the hospitals and things before, just for me personally, and I know there's others out there that need a lot of help.
Oh yeah. And we also, if they are pregnant, we offer them prenatal vitamins.
Oh, okay.
We have a program that we receive those vitamins free, and so we can give those to them to get that started.
So this should be a program that anybody and everybody here in the county should be coming to if they want.
And if anybody would like to come down and take a tour, I can tell you about it all day long, but when you see what's happened and see our facilities and what we're doing, most people who come in are like, I had no idea. And so if someone wants to come down for a tour, they just need to call and make an appointment.
Now, before we run out of time, let's go again about your fundraiser, when that's going to be.
It's March 26th.
March 26th.
And there is no cost to come to that. You'll just need to call the center to reserve a seat if you'd like to come. We have sponsors that provide the meal for the evening and pay for the speaker, and so we just make sure that everyone knows it's a fundraiser, and there will be an appeal at the end of the evening.
Well, that's good to know. That's good to know. Anything else you'd like to tell us that about the center or about your program?
Nothing else I can think about. I think we've covered most of it. The community has been amazing since we first opened in 2009. The culture here has really changed, and they are just accepting us and supporting us, and especially when they know that we're going to service anyone, even if their beliefs are not what ours are, we're still going to love them and support them. And so that's the main thing that I want everyone to know. There is one more thing really fast. We have a post-abortion recovery program. So when people think, oh, they're only pro-life, if someone's had an abortion in the past and they're having a hard time dealing with it, they can come down and get services to help deal with that decision.
So really you deal with all aspects.
We deal with all of it.
Well, that's great. Well, Debbie, it's good to have you today, and I hope this has informed a lot of people. And again, thank y'all for watching our Valley Views, and we'll see you next week. And next week we have Ron Abrams from the Mountain Valley Mental Health Program for our next program. So thank y'all and good day.